So now you know why they call it cattle class. Angry airline passengers are demanding an explanation after they were forced to stay on board a hot plane for 6 hours with nothing to eat or drink. More than 300 people on Air Transat Flight 157 from Brussels to Montreal on Monday found themselves diverted to Ottawa because of thunderstorms. According to passengers, they were not allowed to get off the plane, even when the air conditioning stopped working and they ran out of food and water. When the plane landed, the crew reportedly said they would stop to refuel for half an hour or so. But 4 hours later, and with the jets still stuck on the runway, the power went out, leaving everyone both figuratively and literally in the dark. Transat somehow managed to get the lights back on, but with no sign to the end of the sweaty situation, at least one passenger called 911. Police, paramedics, and the airport's emergency response team arrived and distributed water, but the airline wasn't happy they were called.
Person who called 911 from this aircraft with the last 4 digits, 0403, please present yourself to the very forward of the aircraft. Thank you for your cooperation.
6 hours after it landed in Ottawa, the plane eventually took off. According to the airport, 20 flights were diverted to Ottawa because of the bad weather, but it was only Transat flights that had such big issues. The airport said staff were on standby with food and water for any plane that requested them, but Transat never did. And when the airport tried to contact Transat to deplane, the airline didn't respond. Montreal-based Transat claimed in a statement that the airport was so packed it couldn't get loading bridges to the plane to get passengers off or refill its empty water tank. Canadian federal authorities have now ordered Transat to explain just why they wouldn't let the passengers get off the plane. Don't let YouTube ad bots dictate what TomoNews reports. Support us at patreon.com/TomoNews. Oh, flying sometimes can be such a nightmare experience. United Airlines drags passenger off flight. United Airlines is facing yet another PR disaster. That's after this footage of a bloodied passenger being forcibly removed from a flight went viral. The man was dragged from his seat as the plane sat on the tarmac in Chicago on Sunday, bound for Louisville, Kentucky. It all kicked off when United needed to get 4 staff members to Louisville, but then realized the flight was already full and no seats were available. Passengers who volunteered to give up their seats and take a later flight were offered $400 in compensation and a free hotel stay. But even when that offer was doubled to $800, there were still no takers. That's when United decided to choose the volunteers themselves, and 4 passengers were randomly bumped from the plane. One couple left the airplane without incident, but the man in the video refused. He said he was a doctor and needed to get back to Louisville to see his patients. United staff told the man that security would be called if he didn't get off the plane. Again, he refused, and that's when things got physical.
No, this is wrong! Oh my God! Look at what you did to him! Oh my...
While this incident was undoubtedly brutal, United is within its legal rights to overbook flights and to remove passengers from their planes. They just have to pay compensation of up to $1,350, depending on the length of the delay. 10 minutes later, the passenger ran back on the plane looking confused. Eventually, all the passengers were made to deboard and go back to the gate while the plane was cleaned up. The plane eventually arrived in Louisville 2 hours late. In a statement, United Airlines apologized for what they described as an overbooking situation, but didn't say sorry to the passenger who was dragged from his seat. In an email to staff on Monday, United CEO Oscar Munoz said the man was disruptive and belligerent. The Chicago Department of Aviation says the security officer who dragged the passenger out of his seat has been put on leave, pending an investigation.
Delta staff refused to believe a black woman was really a doctor. A young black female doctor's Facebook post detailing an alleged case of discrimination during a mid-flight medical emergency is setting social media on fire this week. Tamika Cross claims she was flying to Houston from Detroit via Minneapolis aboard a Delta Airlines flight when an old man sitting 2 rows in front of her became unresponsive. Initially thought by airline staff to be a night terror, the man became unresponsive again and staff asked for help. That's when Tamika volunteered to help, but was told by the airline attendant that she needed an actual physician. That same Delta attendant reportedly probed her for info, asking her for credentials, about her background, what she was doing in Detroit, all while a medical emergency was going on. But everything was cool when some white dude claiming to be a doctor showed up and helped the old guy. Well, it was cool for everyone except Tamika. She was naturally pissed, and when the attendant asked for some advice later, Tamika says she still helped them out. Afterward, Tamika writes that the airline staff did apologize and tried to offer her free sky miles. But hey, even free miles won't cut it in cases of discrimination. Delta has since responded to the news by saying discrimination is unacceptable and they're investigating what went down.
And the United nightmare continues. There's more turbulence coming United's way, with the airline again making headlines this week for booting a couple off a flight. The Utah couple were en route to their wedding in Costa Rica. After boarding the plane, they discovered a man snoozing on their seats. Instead of waking him up, they decided to just park themselves on some empty seats nearby. A flight attendant came by asking if they were in the right seats, since they were sitting in Economy Plus, which was more expensive. The couple asked for an upgrade, but were denied and told to move back. Despite complying with the order, they claim a marshal later came and took them off the plane anyway. They were rebooked on Sunday morning, the day of their wedding. But United isn't sorry about what happened, and they claim that's not how things went down. According to the airline, the couple didn't pay for the upgraded seats, but repeatedly tried to sit there, and wouldn't follow instructions to move back to their assigned row. The couple's motives for moving seats does seem shady. And it's possible they were capitalizing on United's recent mishaps, trying to score better seats for free. But despite not being entirely at fault for this one, it's really not in United's best interest to keep booting people off their planes, especially for something as little as a seat upgrade. But I guess old habits die hard. Really, we should just be thankful they didn't assault anyone this time. Hey Tomo Sapiens, help us beat the ad bots by joining our Patreon news squad at patreon.com/TomoNews. Fight! An American man has been arrested after wreaking havoc on board an All Nippon Airways flight, causing it to be delayed by nearly 2 hours. The fight erupted just before takeoff, when a boozed-up man in a red Hawaiian shirt went ballistic and started attacking a male passenger in black. The pair began brawling violently, throwing punches and lunging at each other. Red even screams a death threat at Black. Understandably frightened passengers leap from their seats as flight attendants try to separate the two. Red shirt is let out, but comes marching back moments later. Despite getting punched square in the face by his opponent in black, the man continues to throw punches and shakes off the female flight attendant trying to restrain him. Staff eventually got him off the plane and had him arrested after he choked an airline official. He's still in lockup as of Wednesday. The flight eventually took off an hour and 40 minutes later. Things are going from bad to worse for United Airlines. A former United Airlines customer is claiming staff once threatened to handcuff him if he didn't give up his seat to make way for a higher priority traveler. High-flying businessman Jeff Ferns came forward with his story after the forcible removal of a passenger from a United plane on Sunday. Ferns paid $1,000 for a first-class ticket from Hawaii to LA last week, but was then told to get off the plane. The finance executive said United staff told him somebody more important had showed up at the last minute, and if he didn't budge, they'd remove him by force. Ferns was eventually downgraded to economy and placed between a married couple who refused to sit next to each other and argued for the entire 6-hour flight. Back at home, Ferns asked United for a full refund and a $25,000 donation to the charity of his choice. As the LA Times puts it, that's how rich guys do it. United turned down both requests and instead offered Ferns the difference between the first-class ticket and an economy ticket. The airline then got in touch a week later to offer a $500 credit for a future trip, but Ferns said he would never fly United again. This latest PR blow to the airline comes in the wake of the forcible removal of passenger Dr. David Dow from a Chicago to Louisville flight on Sunday. On Wednesday, United offered a full refund to everyone on that flight and said it would no longer get the cops to remove passengers from planes that were too full. What's more, Chicago's Department of Aviation said 2 more officers involved in the removal of Dow had now been placed on leave pending an investigation. 3 officers in total have now been placed on leave. Meanwhile, attorneys for Dow filed an emergency request with an Illinois state court to force United to preserve video and other evidence related to the removal of their client from the plane, which in all likelihood means the lawyers are preparing a huge-ass lawsuit for damages against United Airlines. More airline drama. American Airlines landed in the hot seat Friday after a flight attendant went full rage on a young mother, then got into a screaming match with another passenger. The woman boarded the Texas-bound flight with a stroller, which wasn't allowed in the cabin. A male flight attendant violently yanked the stroller away, hitting the woman's head and barely missing her twin babies. A video shot during the aftermath shows the woman at the front of the plane crying and asking another flight attendant to give her stroller back. As she's being consoled, a male passenger stands up and asks for the aggressive employee's name. The passenger tells the attendant off when he shows up moments later and is immediately warned to stay out of it. The man confronts the attendant, who repeatedly taunts him to try and deal a hit. The two nearly come to blows, but luckily somebody else intervenes.
Hey, bud. You do that to me and I'll knock you flat.
Stay out of it. Come on. Come on. Bring it on.
Try that one, man. I'll knock you out. Well, I'm not going to
Keep going right back.
Yeah. Go with us where we're going.
Come on. You don't know what the story is.
I don't care what the story is. No one's hurt a baby. It was not an accident.
American Airlines has been very apologetic about the incident, suspending the flight attendant and upgrading the mother and her children to first class on another flight. Internet reactions to the people involved in the drama have been mixed, but the airline has emerged mostly unscathed due to effective damage control. Hope you're taking notes there.